CTV News with Angela Mackenzie.
Good evening. Quebec bar and restaurant owners say they are struggling with an unprecedented increase in the number of extortion-related attacks. The crimes have increased their overhead, and they're asking the province to give them a break. Stéphane Giroux explains.
Bars and restaurant owners are losing sleep these days, never knowing if they'll be the next target of a firebomb.
And now we're seeing like some of our members that couldn't insurance themselves, their businesses because of the burning and the criminality of extortion that it's still going on in Quebec.
The industry says security measures and high insurance costs are eating away their profit margins. They say criminal gangs threaten businesses if they don't pay protection money.
Puis vous l'avez bien dit, là, entre 14 et 22 ans, les arrestations d'environ.
We've made 30 arrests so far, and they're all between the ages of 14 and 22. There's been a major shift lately, according to the SPVM. It turns out that most, if not all, the youth committing these crimes rarely get paid by the criminal gangs who are calling the shots. But they do it anyway, just for kicks.
Il y a un individu qui nous a avoué avoir fait une quarantaine.
One person we arrested admitted to subcontracting 40 attacks, says the commander, and he was never paid for any of them. So why continue?
Un street cred, ce qu'ils appellent, OK?
They do it to get street cred. They do it for fun, to feel tough, explains the commander. Bar owners have asked for better cooperation between police, bars, and the government to fight the phenomenon. Quebec has agreed to invest in prevention.
We announced $150 million to conduct operations of prevention to prevent youth of getting involved into gangs. And
some bar owners are even asking the province to lower its percentage taken from video lottery terminals so bar owners can make up for lost revenues linked to the crime wave.
It's just diminished, like they're taking money out of our pocket right now, and it's really not a good time with the actual situation of bar in Quebec.
A situation, they say, which keeps them up at night, wondering if they'll be next. Stéphane Giroux, CTV News.
Firefighters in Laval are battling a major house fire in the St. Dorothy district. Authorities say it started around 3:30 this afternoon on Rue Boudreau near Chemin Bois du Lac. One person has been taken to hospital, but their condition remains unknown. Black smoke could be seen billowing out of the home, and police say initial reports suggest the fire is criminal. Power has been cut in the area. Well, a years-long legal battle between Quebec theaters and the province has finally come to a close. The Court of Appeal has ruled actors can smoke cigarettes on stage, calling it artistic freedom of expression. Sweeta Rassi reports.
We are really happy about that.
Louis-Philippe Laprant is one of the lawyers representing 3 Quebec City theaters. In a unanimous decision, the Quebec Court of Appeal ruled that actors can smoke on stage.
The state didn't have enough to justify the restriction to freedom of speech and to artistic freedom.
The ruling brings an end to a years-long legal battle. Between 2017 to 2019, the theater company staged productions where actors smoked on stage. They were fined $500 each for violating Quebec's Tobacco Control Act, which bans smoking in certain enclosed spaces.
They were surprised because it was the first time that a theater in Quebec was issued a fine.
This is a scene from one of the productions in question, showing a performer holding a cigarette on stage. In its decision, the Court of Appeal found the province failed to prove the benefits of the smoking ban on stage. While the theaters welcomed the decision, not everyone is applauding.
Secondhand smoke is highly toxic and harmful.
Rob Cunningham from the Canadian Cancer Society says the companies have other options.
In a play, you can't fire a real gun. People have imitation guns. And similarly, you could have an unlit cigarette or an imitation cigarette.
Cunningham says the question is, where do you draw the line?
The judgment allows 10. It allows 100. There's no limit.
Quebec now faces a decision of its own, whether to appeal the ruling to Canada's highest courts. The province has 60 days to decide. Sweet Arasi, CTV News.
A new memorial has been installed at Trudeau Airport. It's in honor of the 2 Air Canada pilots who were killed in a collision at New York's LaGuardia Airport last month. 30-year-old Captain Antoine Forêt from Quebec and 24-year-old First Officer Mackenzie Gunther from Ontario died in the crash on the runway after colliding with a fire truck. The truck was given clearance to cross the runway to respond to an incident involving another aircraft. More than 40 others were injured in the crash, including the 2 firefighters in the truck. The memorial is in Jacques de Lesseps Park, across from the airport's runways. Well, a week of sunny, dry weather has elevated the risk of fires in several regions of southwestern Quebec, Quebec's Forest Fire Protection Agency says the fire danger index has been on the rise in several regions, including Outaouais, the Laurentians, and Lanaudière. It's mainly an issue in areas where the snow has melted. The risk of a fire will remain high at least until Monday. SOPFUS says in springtime, dead vegetation can dry out quickly and is highly flammable. So far this weekend, around 8 fires in southern Quebec have put forests at risk. An exhaustion has set in for residents of Gatineau. Floodwaters are stabilizing, but many properties are still surrounded by water, and homes could flood again in the coming weeks. Natalie Van Roy reports.
Homes in Gatineau still surrounded by water nearly 1 week into the flood. Sump pumps going at all times of the day.
Because the river comes up so high that it's not going to stop. It's even 10 sump pumps. It's going to slow it down, but still damage can happen. The water comes out through the wall, and then we have
Farhad Darakhshan and his family getting by, but it's not easy.
At what cost? Like, who's supposed to pay for this? And it's very inconvenient. We don't have toilets, because all the sewer system is backed up by the water from the river. It fills it up, so you can't use the toilet, you have to rent it.
As many streets and neighborhoods remain flooded, residents are raising questions and asking for more help.
The road, it's never closed down in time. Some of them are racing through the flooded waters like it's a Jeep commercial. No warnings here in Gatineau, but we see lots of families strolling around inspecting the flood zone, inhaling this contaminated dust along with the rest of the residents.
Gatineau's mayor says the response to the flood will be studied.
Public hearing that are planned in the next few months. Those measures needs to be planned with Quebec and with experts as well, because we know that when we save some neighbor, when we build, for instance, a permanent dike, we might flood other people elsewhere, so we need to be very vigilant.
The mayor says 95 households have registered with the Disaster Relief Centre, with 41 people in temporary lodging through the Red Cross. The city of Gatineau says the highest peak was around April 22nd, when around 190 buildings could have been flooded. Some roads will start to reopen this weekend.
There's a risk of erosion as well as possible damages to the street. So before we reopen the road, we will make sure that the streets are still safe.
Even as waters recede, people who live here say they don't want to live through this again.
Some people are really suffering. Their basement is flooded bad.
Natalie Van Roy, CTV News.
Montreal police are investigating a stabbing that happened last night in Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie borough. A 49-year-old man was stabbed in the upper body on Masson Street. It happened at around 6:30 p.m. following an altercation. The man was brought to hospital and is expected to recover. Well, a Montreal landlord is facing criminal charges after a deadly fire in his old Montreal building is now facing other issues. Emile Haim Benamor had his lawyer's license temporarily suspended. Quebec's bar issued the decision Thursday. Benamor is also charged with manslaughter and criminal negligence causing bodily harm after his building was set on fire in 2023. 7 people were killed. Peace talks between American and Iranian officials scheduled for this week in Islamabad have been called off at the 11th hour today. It comes as some Iranian Canadians are speaking out against their regime, and they're facing threats from Tehran. Here's Jeremy Sharon.
A new round of peace talks set for Pakistan this weekend appear to have failed. U.S. President Donald Trump called off the American envoy set to travel to Islamabad today. "I just canceled the trip," said Trump in a midday social media post. Too much time wasted on traveling. If they want to talk, all they have to do is call.
It's not a surprise. Both sides have been very far apart.
Two of Trump's top advisors, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, were set to make the trip to engage in talks aimed at ending the war. Iran's foreign minister met with Pakistani officials today who have been mediating talks, but has since left the country. Iran has said its negotiators won't meet directly with U.S. officials under the current circumstances.
This is looking more and more like a powder keg, and hopefully both sides can return to the negotiating table as quickly as possible before this really becomes undone.
Meanwhile, as the conflict continues, Canadian officials said this week they've increased their monitoring of Tehran's threats against members of the Iranian diaspora in Canada.
Intimidating activists abroad, pressuring families inside Iran, and monitoring diaspora communities and attempting to silence.
Kaveh Shakuri helps Iranian refugees in Ottawa.
People are receiving threatening text messages, anonymous calls, or even online harassments just for being active or speaking out in the community.
Members of the Iranian community in Ottawa say speaking out against the regime during these times has come at a serious cost.
Someone here has to think twice before speaking because of their family. This could really face consequences as an activist or in Iran.
Last month, the Canada Border Services Agency said it received about 280 tips about individuals in Canada with alleged ties to the Iranian regime. Jeremy Sharon, CTV News, Ottawa.
A federal judge has granted a last-minute delay on the deportation of the truck driver who caused the deadly Humboldt Broncos bus crash. Lawyers for Jaskarat Singh Sidhu appeared in federal court on Friday in a bid to stop his deportation scheduled for Monday morning. In 2018, Sidhu ran a stop sign and drove into the path of a bus carrying the Saskatchewan junior hockey team. 16 people were killed and 13 others were injured. Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum yesterday ahead of CUSMA talks with the U.S. A release says the two leaders continued to build on progress in many areas like critical minerals, clean technologies, energy, and advanced manufacturing. CTV political commentator Scott Reed says Donald Trump's influence may be weakening.
Some people are making a great deal of the fact that Mexico has already initiated trade discussions with the United States. Others say, great, let them go first, because goodness knows Donald Trump's position politically appears to be weakening as he closes in on the midterms with the war in Iran and gas and grocery prices soaring. Perhaps we gain political advantage by going second, but we can't know that. And so I think, the effort to say, let's stay in close contact, Mexico and Canada. Let's make certain that we're preserving our mutual interests, because at the end of the day, we are both battling one big monster in the White House. At the end of the day, both Canada and the United States are faced with the bullying and the belligerence of Donald Trump. That's what brings us together in common interest, and that is almost certain to persevere throughout these talks.
History is in the making with Canada's first ever women's wheelchair rugby championship. It's a win that athletes say goes far beyond the game. Anastasia Dextrine reports.
At Complexe Sportif Claude Robillard, the sound of clashing chairs is a sign of resilience. And for wheelchair rugby player Corey Hauer, the moment has been decades in the making.
It's pretty amazing to be able to play in this sport and be able to see how much it's grown.
Hauer got involved in wheelchair sports at 8 years old after being diagnosed with cerebral palsy. She took a liking to rugby, but says she was quickly faced with the reality of competing in a male-dominated sport.
I was asked to join the national squad for the men's program, so I got to play with them for about 5 or 6 years. When I started out, there was maybe only 4 women that were playing the sport.
Wheelchair rugby was created in Manitoba in 1977, but according to the sport's international governing body, the low number of female players made it difficult to have women's teams at the time. Fast forward to Canada's first women's wheelchair rugby championship. It's a partnership with Défi Sportif Altergo.
It's 20 women play. They came from different provinces across Canada. So we've got from Ontario, New Brunswick. We've got from BC, Montreal for sure, Quebec. And they want to build a national women team. That's the build-up of this competition this weekend.
The competition is on, as the first Women's World Championships is set to take place in Paris in December. But Paige Reiki says players share a common goal. They hope to encourage more female athletes to join in the fun.
Everyone has a place here, no matter their ability levels. So there's people who come out from all aspects of life. There's people who come out fresh after their injury and they're really timid, and you just kind of watch their confidence grow as they learn.
And while the scoreboard will reset, players hope to maintain momentum. Anna Sazadextrine, CTV News.
A pair of Quebec businessmen plan to build the world's first completely indoor golf course. The Megalodome includes 4 interconnected domes that would house a 9-hole golf course, clubhouse, and a practice facility. The team from Lac Beauport hope to build the first $50 million facility in Chicago by the end of next year. Here's co-founder Bernard Quentin.
It's the first indoor golf course in the world. We won't hit it a net at 75 yards in front of us. It's 300 yards long. So it will be a real game of golf, a 9-hole, par 3 and par 4. So we're going to have 3 par 4s on our 9-hole. So we're going to use all the clubs in our bag. And we have a 4-dome with a practice facility, but full length, full length, 300 yards long. So the idea is just to play golf, but 365 days a year, and to play at night, anytime.
Quentin says one Megalodome requires at least 55 acres. They hope to eventually build one near Montreal or Toronto. Turning to the weather now, it turned into a beautiful day in Montreal. It's 15 degrees right now and mostly sunny. Tomorrow, we're going to see a mix of sun and cloud with temperatures warming up to 17 degrees. And the weather will be even nicer on Monday. We're expecting sun and a high of 22 degrees before wet weather is expected to move in later in the week. Coming up, a path of destruction.
There's a house right there.
Tornadoes sweep across the American Midwest. And Palestinians in Gaza cast their vote. Palestinians in Gaza have voted in local elections for the first time in 20 years, but only in one city.
Today is a victory for Palestinian democracy. People are overcoming difficult circumstances and sending a message to the world that they deserve to live and vote.
The vote took place in the city of Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, one of the areas that suffered the least destruction during the nearly 2 years of Israeli bombardment of the enclave. Approximately 70,000 voters, less than 5% of the population, are eligible to cast their ballot. Analysts say the local elections could open the door to the first national vote in nearly 2 decades. Russian drone and missile strikes on Ukraine continued overnight. At least 7 people were killed in the city Dnipro and dozens injured, according to local authorities. 4 bodies were found under the ruins of a house after several residential buildings, businesses, and homes were destroyed. In southwest Ukraine, 2 people were wounded in overnight drone attacks on the Odessa region. These overnight attacks followed Friday's prisoner swap, where Russia and Ukraine exchanged nearly 200 service members. Tornadoes left a path of destruction across the U.S. Midwest. Among them, a powerful EF4 with winds up to 320 kilometers, damaging homes and injuring several people. Michelle Franzen reports.
Cleanup underway across parts of Oklahoma after powerful tornadoes tore through. Families now sifting through the damage as millions across the Midwest remain alert for more severe weather. ABC's Oklahoma City affiliate KOCO tracking a violent EF4 twister live as it moves south of Enid, a city of 50,000 people.
There's a house right there. There's a house right there. And I am at a loss for words right now at what I'm seeing on TV right here. This is as bad as it can get.
The storm packing winds up to 170 miles per hour, cutting a path nearly 9 miles long, according to the National Weather Service.
Oh,
That massive stovepipe tornado bearing down on Vance Air Force Base. Emergency crews racing in with reports of people trapped in their homes, at least 10 people hurt. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt touring some of the damage.
Usually when we come to a neighborhood like this that's been hitting this hard, there's 1 or 2 deaths that have happened. And so the fact that there hasn't been the major injuries, I think that's where we can all be very hopeful and very thankful.
Near Bremen, Oklahoma, another tornado touching down, leaving behind damaged homes and debris strewn across streets. A survey team confirming at least EF1 level damage. The threat is far from over. Millions continue to be on alert across the plains and Midwest through the weekend with severe weather. At least 19 reported tornadoes in Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa in just 24 hours. And conditions are still in place for more storms. Michelle Franzen, ABC News, New York.
When we return, American doctors moving north.
The Ottawa Hospital is very well known internationally.
Ontario sees a sharp increase in doctors coming from the U.S. And doctors here growing concerned as people turn to AI for health advice. We return with the latest on the Middle East. Peace talks for the Iran war are at an impasse after U.S. President Donald Trump canceled a trip by an American delegation to Pakistan. Andrew Dimbert reports.
Tonight, an about-face on any face-to-face talks to end the war with Iran. Just moments after Iran's top diplomat left Pakistan today, after a meeting with Pakistani leaders mediating peace talks, President Trump abruptly telling envoys not to go.
They gave us a paper that should have been better. And interestingly, immediately when I canceled it, within 10 minutes, we got a new paper that was much better.
Just yesterday, Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, were set to travel again to Islamabad for new negotiations.
They weren't meeting with the leader of the country. They were meeting with other people. And I said, we're just not going to do it. Too much traveling, takes too long, too expensive.
But the Iranians say they had no plans to speak directly with U.S. negotiators and left their red lines for negotiations in Islamabad. ABC's Marcus Moore is there.
We're told the Iranians left a proposal for the next steps in peace talks for the war in Iran, and we understand that those points will be presented to U.S. officials either here in Pakistan or in some other manner.
President Trump saying Iran did make a new proposal today in return for suspending its nuclear enrichment program.
They offered a lot, but not enough.
Now, the almost 2 months-long war shifting into a costly standoff over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran asserting control of the critical waterway, seizing some cargo ships, the Pentagon vowing to expand its blockade of Iranian ports with the current ceasefire in place. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
There's been a sharp increase in American doctors moving north to work in Ontario. In the last year, close to 600 U.S.-trained physicians have registered in the province, many of them in Ottawa. Leila Rock reports.
It's a walk to work that's starting to feel more like home for Dr. Jennifer Carnahan.
I think Ottawa is an amazing city.
The American doctor, originally from Indiana, moved here to take a new job at the Ottawa Hospital in geriatric medicine in February.
A lot of what we have to do in the United States is learn the health insurance system very well so that we are able to secure the best resources for our patients.
After years of working in the American private healthcare system, frustration was growing. On top of that, a rapidly changing political situation under the Trump administration.
It may sound a little bit extreme to say, but it did start to feel like health services research, medicine, science. It did start to feel like that was starting to come under attack.
She looked up north and found opportunity.
The Ottawa Hospital is very well known internationally.
The Ottawa Hospital says among the international recruits over the past 3 years, nearly 60% have been from the United States, totaling 22 physicians. In 2025, 570 U.S. physicians registered to work in Ontario. That's a 174% increase compared to 2024. The Ministry of Health says they've taken action by making it easier for U.S. licensed nurses and physicians to move to and practice in Ontario.
Is that there's a very different ethos of care here.
Carnahan says there are even social network groups growing of American doctors who are interested in moving to Canada.
In terms of the burden on time, it's actually kind of a luxury. I used to have to see, I think, at least twice as many patients, maybe 3 times as many in the same time period.
But now she's looking forward to a special rite of passage for all Ottawa residents.
I looked out the window and I saw people skating, like right when I first arrived, and I got so excited. It's like, there they are. So my goal for next winter is to actually skate on the canal. I'm hoping that happens.
Leah LaRocque, CTV News.
The Canadian Medical Association is sounding the alarm over false and misleading health information found online. In a recent survey, 97% of doctors reported having to intervene after a patient followed online medical advice, including from AI sources. And with me now is Man Zawadi. He's an associate professor at McGill University who studies health law, novel technologies, and ethics. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So why are people turning to AI to find health information, and how are they using it exactly?
Yeah, I mean, people are turning to AI for a very simple reason. It's fast, accessible, and actually feels a bit like human. If you're worried about a symptom late at night, AI is available instantly. It answers in plain language, and that's incredibly powerful if you think about it, especially in a system where access to care can be slow or fragmented. But there's something deeper going on, I think. People aren't just looking for facts, they're also looking for some kind of reassurance, interpretation, or guidance. I mean, AI gives the impression of all three.
What are some of the risks then in relying on AI chatbots or other online sources when you're looking for health advice?
Yeah, I mean, the danger is subtle, but it's actually significant. It's not just that AI can be wrong, it's that it can be wrong in a way that actually feels right. It produces answers that are confident, as I said, well-written and seem tailored to you, but it doesn't actually know your medical history, your medications, your risk factors, or the context that physicians rely on to make their decisions. So it's often a mix of correct general information combined with assumptions that may not apply to you. And in medicine, that gap actually matters. And there's also another issue, one of bias and incomplete data. If the system wasn't trained on diverse populations, its recommendations may be less accurate for some groups.
So this must make a doctor's job a little more difficult when that patient who's maybe found misinformation online eventually shows up in their clinic.
Yeah, and we're already seeing that very clearly, especially with that recent report. I mean, many physicians, as you mentioned correctly, as part of their consultation, they spend time addressing or correcting misinformation, and that has several effects. I think first, it takes more time now away from diagnosis and treatment, and it can also complicate trust, especially if a patient arrives convinced that they've read this, whatever they read online is actually correct. So there's also a more structural, I would say, shift that's happening. The role of the physician is evolving. There are no longer just providers of care, today. There are actually increasingly interpreters and validators of information, and that's not trivial.
What would you like to see happen then to prevent people from being harmed by this kind of misinformation that they might find through AI or other online sources?
Yeah, I would say, we need to think about this from multiple levels. From a policy perspective, we were almost with one of the most comprehensive AI acts in Canada before Parliament was prorogated almost a year ago, and the government is currently looking into this again. So I think that's going to be very important for us to see again. Like the EU has an act, and other countries like South Korea. But there's also something on the technology side. I mean, AI tools that will be providing health information should be treated more like medical tools. That means proper validation, transparency about limitations, and also clear accountability. But on the public side as well, we need to equip people because they're the ones on the front lines, with simple ways to navigate this information, how to question sources, when to recognize uncertainty, and know when to seek professional advice. And lastly, the health system itself. We need to reduce the gaps that drive people to rely on these tools in the first place. If access to care is difficult, then people will always look elsewhere.
Right, and we do see that in Quebec, with a lack of family doctors, a shortage of family doctors. People are looking for other ways to find that information. Manzoati, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Time now for In Case You Missed It. The popular weight loss drug Wegovy is currently not covered by Quebec's public drug insurance plan. Quebec's Health Research Institute says the costs are too high and the benefits uncertain, but doctors hope that soon could change. Matt Gilmore reports.
You may have seen the ads asking you to ask your doctor about Wegovy.
So Ozempic and Wegovy are the same medication, just prescribed at different doses for different reasons. So Ozempic is prescribed for diabetes, Wegovy is prescribed for weight loss.
Cardiologist Dr. Christopher Labos says there are medical benefits to treating obesity beyond cosmetic reasons.
It leads to complications, diabetes, high blood pressure, and increases the risk of heart disease and cancer. The reason we treat obesity is to prevent cardiovascular events.
But in two recent evaluations of Wegovy, Quebec's Health Research Institute, INES, recommended the government not reimburse the drug under its public insurance plan, writing, "Given its modest efficacy, safety concerns, its disproportionate cost relative to the clinical benefits it provides, and its excessive budgetary impact, the members consider that reimbursing Wegovy for the secondary prevention of cardiovascular events is not a responsible, fair, or equitable decision. The drug does come with side effects like nausea, vomiting, and bloating, but Labos says they usually go away for most patients. As for the cost, INES estimates it would be close to $1 billion over 5 years, jeopardizing the sustainability of the entire public insurance plan.
If you're going to exclude them on a cost-benefit ratio because of the cost, that's a point of view. I think we're going to be having a very different conversation about these medications a year from now.
That's because the maker of Wegovy allowed its patent to expire in Canada in January, and generics could soon start flooding the market, bringing down the price.
Maybe the risk-benefit calculation is going to change in their minds, but from a purely medical scientific standpoint, if you want scientific studies showing that there's a cardiovascular benefit to these medications, it's there. It's been published. I've written about it extensively.
Quebec's health ministry has postponed making a final decision on the drug. INES says the price would have to come down around 70 to 80% for it to be cost-effective. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
A pizza kit sold at Costco Canada under the brand name Gino Bambino is being recalled due to the potential for mold growth. The company says the kits were sold in stores and online between December 20 to 25th and April. The recall applies specifically to Gino Bambino gluten-free pizza kits with the best before dates of April 22nd and April 28th. Costco advises affected customers to return the pizzas to a Costco warehouse for a refund. There's more interest in electric vehicles these days, but experts say there's a big difference between rising interest and actually buying one. Spencer Turcott reports.
As people feel the pain at the pumps due to rising fuel costs, it seems drivers are looking for alternatives.
Now we're sitting at 49%, meaning that almost half of the Canadians that we surveyed stated that they might be interested in purchasing an EV as their next vehicle.
New data from Auto Trader suggests interest in electric vehicles is rebounding for the first time since 2022.
Let's think about what the federal government announced in the beginning of February,
suggesting the new EV and hybrid rebate program and commitment to more EV infrastructure is driving interest. And while there is hesitancy around the current charging availability as well as range anxiety, the cost of gas is what's really behind this shift.
As we all know, there's a situation going on between Iran and United States since February 28th.
But Dylan Meyer, business manager of Quality Car Sales in Kitchener, says there is a big difference between people saying they're interested in going electric for their next vehicle and actually acting on that interest.
If they start weighing their options for pricing of electric car, installing a charger at their house, range for the electric car, and then of course the resale, I'd like to see those survey results because they would probably be a lot different.
Meyer adds that some Canadian cities may make more sense for going fully electric compared to others.
The hybrid or the plug-in hybrid vehicle definitely bridges the gap between a gasoline and a full electric. Southwestern Ontario might have some pockets where an electric car makes more sense, like downtown Toronto, but the vast amount of Ontario's population would prefer to drive a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid.
While EV sales on AutoTrader are up 38% year over year, some experts say it could take more time for interest to turn into sales in Canadian communities where charging infrastructure is more sparse. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Kitchener.
The Montreal Victoire play their final game of regular season tonight against the Torrent in Seattle. And just in time, the PWHL has activated forwards Marie-Philippe Poulin and Maureen Murphy from the long-term injured reserve. Poulin was placed on the list after suffering a lower body injury during a game against the Boston Fleet at Place Belle on March 15th. Poulin missed the team's last 10 games. The Victoire captain has recorded 9 goals and 8 assists in 18 games this season. The team will open playoffs next Saturday, May 2nd at Place Belle. The opponent and start time have yet to be determined. CF Montreal continued its perfect start today, earning a 1-0 win over New York City FC at Stade Saputo this afternoon. Prince Owusu had the lone goal for Montreal 20 minutes into play. New York was forced to go down one man after right back Tavon Gray picked up 2 yellow cards in 4 minutes. Next, Montreal will head to Mercedes Stadium to face Atlanta United on May 2nd. Coming up, Bean has a lot to say. And now he's saying it on social media. It's expected to be a record-breaking year for the cruise ship season. BC's terminal is celebrating 40 years. And thanks to Disney ships, more overseas tourists and Canadians vacationing in their own country, it will be a busy summer. Chris Wiggins has the story.
This is the Norwegian Bliss, one of the largest ships that can fit under the Lions Gate Bridge. And over there, Holland America's Eurodam. Both here as Vancouver celebrates the 40th anniversary of the very first cruise ship at Canada Place Terminal.
It's that stunning natural beauty and signature world-class hospitality that we have here that continues to draw people to visit Vancouver and British Columbia.
The new season is officially underway, and this summer the city is bracing for one of its busiest cruise ship years yet, with multiple vessels scheduled to visit downtown almost every day throughout the summer. In peak season from early May through late September, officials say 40 to 50,000 passengers will pass through this terminal every weekend. Today's captain of the Eurodam, Jeroen van Donsler, was actually a cadet on the first ship that docked here in 1986.
We had so much fun. We ate hamburgers on the world's first floating McDonald's. And one afternoon we even saw Bryan Adams perform, so it was just amazing. 40
years later, and the captain still has high praise for Vancouver.
The lay of the land here, if you look behind you, the beautiful mountains with the snow on it still, and in this side here, amazing world-class city, great restaurants, lots of things to do for people pre-cruise and post-cruise.
Fast forward to 2026, and all those cruise ships are expected to be a huge boom for the local economy. An estimated 1.4 million travelers coming to the city. Of course, throw in the World Cup and all that business, and it's bound to bring a whole lot of people and a whole lot of traffic.
I do think that I'm biased, obviously, but I do think that the benefits outweigh, and it's such a great way of getting dollars into our cities when we really need it.
And she's right. We will get it. Every cruise ship brings an estimated $3 million into the local economy. Chris Wiggins, CTV News, Vancouver.
Justin Bieber's performances at Coachella over 2 weekends have coined the term Bieberchella. The viral shows have piqued interest in Justin Bieber's exhibit in his own hometown. Heather Soren reports.
Uh-oh, it's muted. 1 second.
Justin Bieber surprised fans at Coachella this year by duetting his old songs.
Wait, there we go. Oh, wow.
Even some of his old YouTube videos from before he made it big. There for weekend 2 of Bieberchella, Laura Braga from Brazil.
I cried the whole concert.
Braga went from the iconic Ferris wheel in Indio, California, to the Steps of Stardom Bieber exhibit at the Stratford Perth Museum. Braga is still emotional. She's been a fan for Bieber's entire career.
He was just a kid, and I have this dream to hug him, to have a moment with him.
Let's go.
His Coachella run reigniting that Bieber fever.
But definitely, I think I speak for most people when Bieberchella kind of reopened that for us. We were like, we all care about him, and he made a huge impact on our lives.
The Stratford Museum's Bieber exhibit has been around since 2018, but it's been bustling even more in the last few weeks.
His legacy is undeniable, and I think that performance at Coachella just proves that this is now a new iteration of Justin. This is Justin the man, the father.
Not only do believers get to see hundreds of Bieber-related artifacts,
I can remember the clothes he used, and I can remember of myself in my room watching him wear these clothes.
A recent addition, fans also get their hands on some of his old belongings, from jerseys to shoes. And at the end of the tour, their Polaroid goes on the wall, a place where the Biebs himself signed.
So his fans get to become part of living history, part of the exhibit, and he will come back one day, we hope, and he'll get to see that.
Braga left her own mark on the wall, adding later that she'll never leave the Belieber fandom.
Thank you, Justin, for everything. It was amazing growing up with you.
Heather Centerin, CTV News, Stratford.
As the saying goes, what's old is new again, and right now that's anything 90s. Will Gantz has the story.
Look at this. This spring, the 90s have sprung all over again.
An Easter basket!
In fact, things are even starting to taste like it. Kellogg announcing the return of toys in some cereal boxes for the first time in more than a decade.
Look, we're all very impressed with Andy's new toy.
Toy?
T-O-Y. Toy.
Featuring characters from one of the 90s highest-grossing films, Toy Story, and the upcoming 5th installment of that franchise. Searches for 90s life going to infinity and beyond on TikTok this week, spiking more than 1,000%.
This stuff works in kind of 20-year cycles, and now we're getting this 90s nostalgia in fashion and culture.
And Love Story, JFK Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, FX's most watched limited series ever on Hulu and Disney+, inspiring a 90s fashion frenzy of its own.
We all think we're Carolyn Bessette.
All part of a larger trend of brands putting 90s-era faves back on the market. Landlines, like the popular tin can, surging in popularity, along with transparent tech. And remember inflatable furniture? Well, now IKEA's given that an upgrade worthy of 2026 as well. But what is it about the 90s that we crave so much we're splurging on it?
Looking back to those simpler days, even if it was just the 90s, and it's a familiar enough time that, we remember pre-phones, just how things were different culturally, and I think people are kind of hungry for that.
Or as Summer Kenson, the creator behind the holiday classics, puts it, you know why we're so nostalgic? It's our way of borrowing calm from another time.
An Ottawa cat owner can't imagine starting the day without a little conversation from her feline friend. And he has a lot to say, so she decided to record and share the conversations online. Cassidy Howard says she never owned a cat before until Bean came into her life. She thought all the meowing was a little unusual, but the vet told her Bean is just chatty. The Beauty and the Bean account has won a Webby on the animal's social media category.
For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca.
Habs fever has certainly overtaken the city, and last night's win upped the heat. The Lane Hudson goal that put the Habs up a game in the series got the crowd on their feet inside and outside the Bell Centre. That goal coming 2 minutes and 9 seconds into overtime, giving the Canadians their 3-2 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was the third game of the best-of-7 series. All three have been decided in overtime. Game 4 takes place Sunday, back at the Bell Centre. Taking a final look at the weather, the lovely day continues. It's around 15 degrees right now with some cloud coverage expected tonight. Tomorrow, we'll see a mix of sun and cloud with temperatures warming up to 17. And Monday's shaping up to be a beautiful day. Sun and a high of 22 in the forecast. We'll likely see rain, though, later in the week. Well, that's it for us. We'll be back at 11:30. Have a good evening, everyone. Take care.